flag is behind you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, all the members are present. First thing is minutes for the regular meeting, June 5th, 2018. We tabled them on the last.
We didn't have enough people.
Well, we only had 2 people that were of the 3 that were
Yeah.
actually at the show at that particular meeting, so I wanted to wait until we could actually have 3 of us.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Is there a second? Steve? All in favor?
Abstaining.
Abstain and abstain. Okay, so 3-0-2 with Sandra and Deb abstaining. Next one is regular minutes, August 7th, 2018. Has everybody had an opportunity to read those? Want to make a motion? Steve? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sandra? If nothing else, all in favor? 4, and you're abstaining.
Abstaining.
So 3, you're abstaining too, right?
Yes.
So
I wasn't.
3-0-2 again. This time with Deb and Renee abstain. Privilege of the floor, any agenda items from the audience?
I'm not on the agenda.
So we'll come back to that.
Yes.
Thank you. Communications. You want to just talk about the thing I just gave you? Just so everybody knows that we got
Sure.
it.
So the New Hampshire School Boards Association is looking for proposed resolutions for consideration for the 2019 New Hampshire School Board Association Delegate Assembly. They did just send out a communication. We will put this on the October school board meeting. We'll get a copy of it sent out to you so you can be thinking about it. It's really things that that as a board you would collectively want the School Boards Association to consider as they kind of move forward with their work. So we can certainly get that sent out to folks so that you have time to think about that.
We just opened it tonight, so I just gave it to Mary, and then we'll get it on the agenda for next meeting. Any other communications? No? Administrative report, principals report? Shannon?
So we gained a student and lost a student all last week, so we are steady at 150 for this month. That is the enrollment report. And principals report, we have our calendar of events. We have coming up this soccer versus Holderness is on the 6th. We also have an open house that night from 6 to 7 p.m. That's this Thursday. I believe this Saturday, Mr. Heath, the police and fire department are coming to do training exercises on the school property, which is going to be something that we've talked about for a while, and
Right.
Mr. Heath has scheduled for a while, so a great opportunity for them. Ashland teachers, our budget planning documents are due on the 10th, so that we can start that process of kind of working from their list down to what we end up with in the final product. Prepare for election day on the 11th. There are a few SAU dances coming up on the 14th and also on the 28th. Picture day is the 20th, so make sure everyone has their hair done, ready to go. First volleyball game at Plymouth is on the 24th of September at 4 p.m. We have a character assembly on the 28th, which is Omega Man, coming to talk about being a hero, which is helping everyone respect others, which is going to be, I think, a really great opportunity that Carrie Sanborn located, hunted down for us. We have early release on the 28th. Grade 8 starts their Yankee Candle fundraiser, which is going to help contribute to their 8th grade trip at the end of the school year. We have a tentative date for flu shots, which is the 4th of October, and that is the same day that we have our staff meeting for the month of October. Staff of the month this month are Jackie McGettigan and Gail Spears. You all know all the work that Jackie does, all the different roles that she plays, and helping prepare for the school year to start, and then throughout the year registering new students. preparing for teachers to return, all of the, beginning of the year packets, all of the paperwork that needs to be done. That's just in the summer, the weeks of summer that she's here, and then all year long she runs around doing about 1,000 different things. So I'm really appreciative of that. Mrs. Spears spends a great deal of time working with our students, but also being a really supportive team member and a great leader in our school. And she's really connects well with parents and community and the kids. And I think that her role here is kind of to be that quiet leader that kind of helps everyone do what they need to do and is a supportive kind of cheerleader for everyone. And I appreciate that for Mrs. Spears very much. Our open house schedule, we have a bunch of things that are going to be happening. We'll have community information booths, which we have every year in the cafeteria. That we'll have Girl Scouts, Ashland Parks and Rec, the banking program, Box Tops for Education, Hannaford's Helps program. We're also going to be doing volunteer fingerprinting, again with the help of the Ashland Police Department. We'll have welcome to our team sessions at each level, where we have kind of general information, contact information for the different teams, homework guidelines, attendance and behavior expectations, adaptive learning program, parent information and access. And then at the middle tier, we're going to do grade level parent meetings specifically about fundraising and kind of laying out what the year is all about. So that's kind of what's going on in the school. I have New Hampshire state assessment results from last spring to share with you. The state went in and, after working with some teachers over the course of the summer, reset the cut scores for the levels. It didn't really change anything, but we held on to the results until we knew what the cut scores were, and because we didn't know how much they were going to change. So I can go through these documents with you. However you want to.
Share with the public. Certainly. So as we're looking at the ELA, English Language Arts and Reading results, you can see down the left-hand column the grade levels of students that took it and the number of students that took it. For each test, the test is broken into 4 levels, 3 being proficient, 4 being advanced. And you can see the percentage of Ashland students that fall into each of those categories, but the overall proficiency percentage is in each grade level. And then the state levels of proficiency in each of the levels. I mean the state overall levels of proficiency and then the state overall proficiency. So the middle column has the Ashland proficiency and the far right has the state proficiency and the comparative between the two. You can see grade 3, the first time they ever take a test like this, is a really difficult test for them to take. Doesn't come with 4 choices, A, B, C, and D. They have to, read information, calculate, make analysis, combine information, pull it all together to answer questions. So it's a really comprehensive test for them. So this is the first time the 3rd graders take it. It's always a struggle. As we get to 4th grade and up, you can see that we are 20% above the state in 4th grade, our percentage of proficient students. We are 10% above the state in grade 5, 29% in 6, 18% in 7, and 8% and 3% in grade 8. Which are all really great results for us.
I think these are great.
Yeah, our teachers have been working really hard. So
Yeah.
it's good to see that. If you look at the 2-year proficiency data, you can see the comparative based, it's a grade level, a year of graduation comparison. So in the first column, it's the year before last result and then last year's result. So you can see that obviously the 3rd graders from last year did not take a test as 2nd graders, but then their first year they took it, 29% were proficient. The following year, though, you can see that the 4th graders, when they were in 3rd grade, they were 43% proficient. The following year, 75% proficient. You can see the jump from one year to the next of 32% proficiency points. 5th grade went from 50% to 71%. 52 to 84, that's 32% jump. 7th grade, 82% and 78%, which is a 4% drop, which in a very, very small group of students, very small, the smallest in the school, that's the difference of one student leaving or coming. And then 8th grade from 50 to 61%, so 11% increase in proficiency in English language arts. These are really great results. You go to the next page, you can see math. You see we continue to struggle with math results. Our percentages of proficient run down the middle, and the comparison with the state. We are below the state, 12% in 3rd grade, 20% in 4th, 2% in 5th, 9 and 6th, 15 and 7th, and 25% in 8th. What I want to say is if you look down at the 2-year proficiency data, you can see that the growth of the kids between last year's test and or 2 years ago's test and this year's test, even though our results aren't great and not where we want them to be by any means, they have improved on the state math test. So that's really encouraging. Grade 4 as 3rd graders, they were 14% proficient, and then 33%, that's a 19% jump. 44 and 43%, so basically they broke even. 35 and 37, that's a 2% jump. 36 to 33, again, minus 3%. And again, I believe that is, our numbers actually dropped by one student. And then 11 to 22%, that's 11% drop over 2 years. So they're moving in the right direction. They're definitely not where we want them to be. We want them to be at or above, preferably above the state proficiency percentage, but so that's what we're working on. The last page are the science results. Again, first time we've had the state science test as a part of the New Hampshire assessment system. So this is a completely different test for the kids. Last year, or in previous years, it's been the state science kneecap test, which is a paper and pencil test. So this was very different for the kids. So, and in the past years, 4th and 8th graders took it. So our 4th graders 2 years ago took the kneecap test, and then in 5th grade had to take the science test. So we do have the 2-year, with the same group of kids, the science scores between 4th grade and 5th grade. But you can see at the 5th grade level, 43% proficient is the state and our number. And in 8th grade, 37% proficient, and the state was 42, so we're just below that. When you look at the 2-year proficiency data, again, 5th grade as 4th graders were scored 44% proficient, and then 43% this past year. And the 8th graders from 2 years ago, so now you're comparing two different groups of kids. The class of 2021 was 16% proficient in science, and this past year's 8th graders were 37% proficient, so that's a 21% jump. So again, not where we want them to be, certainly. We want them to be much higher than that, but moving in the right direction, definitely, in both math and science.
Thank you, Shannon. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Next thing is the DOE 25 financial report. Trish?
Thank you. As you know, at the end of each fiscal year for the Department of Education, we fill out what they call the Form 25, and it basically is a recap of the year's finances. We did end up with an unreserved fund balance of $102,259 that will be used to reduce the amount needed to be raised by taxation this fall when they set the tax rate. We did not really anticipate having a fund balance during the budget process, so this is very good news for us. Excess revenues accounted for about $36,000 of the balance. There was savings in, significant savings in health insurance, special ed transportation, professional development, legal, and some other smaller accounts that I'll go into more detail next month when I provide the summary. Every year I provide a year-end summary report that's a lot more easy to understand and to go through. So I'll have that ready for the next board meeting. The DOE 25 is required to be uploaded to the state by September 1st, which it was, and so I have the copies for you for hard copy signatures tonight.
So don't leave till you sign. Thank you, Trish. Do we need a motion to accept that?
that would be helpful.
Take a motion to approve the DOE 25 for the school year of 2017 to 2018.
Oh,
Sandra,
make it-
your second? Renee? Any other questions or comments on it? Not all in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Business of the board, is there anything for the board? Nope, seeing none. Business superintendent, general operating expenses, Trish?
Yes, we have two manifests that we combine into one, and there's nothing unusual to report. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Any questions for Trish on that? If not, I'll take a motion to accept the manifest as presented. Deb? Second?
I'll second.
Sandra? All in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next item is a donation. Mary?
I did provide some backup in your packet regarding this. The Lakes Region Conservation Trust has a desire trying to connect families and younger individuals to the wonderful Lakes Region conservation lands that they have been entrusted to care for. Through some conversations and various meetings on educational programming, they did offer support for 2 Ashland elementary teachers. We had Jen Wenhart and Teresa Merrifield give up primarily a week of their summer to participate in what's known as Competency Camp, which is a chance to plan deeply and a chance to go explore some lands. So they did go explore the homestead location. We were very glad when they returned safely, because the first time they went out on their own, and apparently some of those pit cairns are not as visible as others might think. But it was a great opportunity. Primarily the cost of the donation provides time for their time, and also a very small amount goes towards providing for the food that was provided during the experience. The rest of the costs were absorbed through other efforts. So it's really a request for the board to accept that donation.
So the donation is the amount of $2,650.21 from the Lakes Region Conservation Trust for our 2 teachers to participate in that. So it's a good deal, because the
Yeah,
cost was
that's
kind of...
great. Yeah.
So I'll take a motion to approve if we want.
I'll make a motion.
Deb? A second? Sandra? Any other questions or anything? No? All in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any new business?
This evening.
Well, we do have an audience here for the first time in many...
Long time.
So I'm going to skip the policies right now, because that's just a long, drawn-out process. And we'll go down to privilege of the floor number 2, any item. And would you like to speak, or somebody in particular, or?
Sure.
Okay.
From here.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
wherever you're comfortable. Your name?
Bryn Salmon, parent to a kindergartner, a first grader, and a second grader. We're here collectively as a group of parents that had some questions and concerns regarding our second graders. We're primarily parents to second graders that are currently placed in grades 1 to 2. And we had some concerns and questions, both about placement of our individual students, but also systemic questions about the tier structure in itself. We did have an opportunity to meet in an open forum with Dr. Bartlett and Superintendent Moriarty this morning. I do feel like we had some of our questions answered. We had some holes filled in. We're here to gain some further insight, so we have the whole picture. And I think that we're in the process of making good strides toward bettering our students without getting into all the questions. I think Dr. Bartlett has worked to make some advances that are helpful, and I think that there's still a few more resolutions that can be made, and we're in that process, kind of a mediation process right now. Does that pretty much sum it up, or does anybody else have?
Okay, so is there a question in there?
Well, I would have a question.
I just want to get sure.
Basically,
Before we go, your name, please.
I'm sorry, yes, my name's Ashley Crosby.
Yep, thank you.
And my question is basically, my daughter is not in the group of 1 and 2. She was moved into, I believe, what you would consider 2, 3?
Yep.
Okay. And I guess I was here because I wasn't sure if the school board was a part of how they,
Placement.
during placement and approval of those things, or is that something separate?
It's something separate.
Okay, so that wouldn't be something,
That would be the
That would be-
administration
okay.
responsibility.
Okay, so, and the only reason I think I got curious if you guys were a part of it was the approval of how the tier system is set up. Is that something that you approve of as well? Or is that something brought to you, or is that something that's between administrative only?
So in terms of certainly looking at student placement, that's something that's done really at the school level, certainly with, significantly with teacher input and the principal's input, looking at, placement for students in the various teams. In terms of the structure, that is certainly something, like the team teaching structure is something that,
Right.
Dr. Bartlett certainly brought forward prior to that being implemented. And certainly looking at the learning progressions and so forth, those are all conversations that do happen at the school board level as well.
Okay, so it is partly something that you guys would be a part of, and then partly it would be more on the administrative level. Okay. I just wanted to kind of understand who we would need to speak to if we had an issue, what direction we would want to take, that kind of thing.
So the first part with any issue is always to, if it's something related within the classroom, then it would be to talk to the classroom teacher.
Well, obviously, yeah.
And then even, again, about the structure, which is the structure that's in place,
Right.
those concerns right now, I would say, are really conversations at the school level with an opportunity. I think, one of the things that I gained from this morning is a chance to have deeper conversations about why some of the decisions are made that are made. And, I think one of the things, and certainly something that I know that I've done in my time, is sometimes we get used to changes we've made and we forget that we have new folks coming into that. And so sometimes when we start something new, we do a lot of over communicating. But then when things kind of become part of our practice, I think sometimes what we can tend to happen is we assume everybody's on the same page, and maybe we need to go back to making sure people understand why things are set up the way they are. And that's what I definitely, gathered this morning, and I know that Dr. Bartlett has plans to do that. So I think at this stage it's a good conversation, to continue at the school level, and certainly, I think, the board is always receptive. If there's a concern that's not being resolved, certainly then it would rise beyond, first to my level, and then certainly to the school board level for resolution.
So
But I'm-
essentially a chain of command. So
It
start
is.
at the teacher level, principal, superintendent, and then the
Yes.
school board.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
Jacob Purdue. What's an average timeline then for resolution? Send you an email, I don't hear anything in a week. I go to you, I don't hear anything in a week. I go to this guy?
First off, I'm confident that wouldn't, be the case. I think our goal is to always to try to resolve things, in as timely a manner as we can. Sometimes there are things that impede that. Sometimes technology goes down in the building, like last week. I think we were a whole day without internet access. I think that sometimes, holiday weekends can make that challenging. But our goal is always to try to be as responsive as we can. It is, we live in a society where sometimes people might send an email at midnight. We're not going to probably get to that at that stage. There are some working hours that we are working in, and certainly students in front of the staff in the school have to have the highest priority during that time. But, again, if you feel like your concern is not being resolved, that certainly would be a reason to escalate it to the next level. But again, I'm confident that, our goal is always to try to resolve things quickly, as efficiently as we can, because we don't want our families to be, in a difficult spot. We certainly don't want our learners to be in a difficult spot.
And I'd say, based on my experience with this group here, I've never been more than 2 days without a response, even during the weekends. They're very dedicated, and even when I've sent out an email, Bryn called me on Friday, so, the proper chain is to get it to Mary, which I did, and then Mary worked with Dr. Bartlett, which is shortly thereafter, which is the chain of command. And then that's, at this point, it seems like the resolution is moving forward, and there's some definite positive growth there. And as long as that continues, and I'd say, that's where it needs to work within that system to get it to where it needs, that you guys are comfortable where your children are at. And that's what we want, is you being comfortable that your child is where they need to be. And if working through that process, and by working through it, I don't mean a day. Yeah, oh, I didn't get what I wanted. That's, I'm going to initially redirect you back to Mary again. But if you do hit that loggerhead and you just can't, and I can't imagine having dealt with Mary and having dealt with Shannon, that's usually not a problem. But if you do get to that point, then absolutely, give me a call. My name's on the website, and and we'll go from there. But I can't imagine that we would get to that point.
I think we're working on 2 different levels as well. I think right now we're, working to make sure our children are appropriately placed, and that we understand why they're placed where they are, for now, just so that they can be comfortable going forward to the school year. But also I think we're working to make resolutions so that there's better communication in the future. Moving forward, that children, aren't going to experience the confusion and frustration that they've experienced this year. And I do feel like we're making strides toward that. And I think that's a longer term goal.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to what Mary mentioned earlier about that conversation where, we've been in this system now for 6 years? So we're at the point where we're just used to it. This is the way it is. And there are some parents that, whether you moved in or just having your kids just enter school or whatever, or come from a different school, aren't used to it. And I think we did drop the ball a little on maybe, especially the younger grades or the transfers, to understand our system versus where you may have been coming from, or what you may have been used to, or what you may have expected from when you were in school. Obviously school's changed a lot since when we were in school, even more from when I was in school. Being probably one of the older people other than maybe Gail, maybe. In here, so and it's always an evolving thing. The stuff we're doing this year may be different next year based on what we've learned. Some of these reports that we get, helps to direct us where our focus needs to be. So things could change. It's not a static where we stay, it's the same all the time. It's a flowing river, where things move, things change based on, in reality, the needs of the kids.
I think anytime you implement a new system, it needs to evolve, and there's a growth period, and parents need to be patient with that. But I think we just need better communication, as you mentioned. I think every parent coming to this school needs to be aware of what we're doing, how it works. Things like these statistics are great to have on hand to look at and say, oh, okay, we are making progress. The system may be working. We just need to have some checks and balances there to make sure parents
Yep, absolutely.
aware.
Well, I think there was a big shift as well, and that's why I guess I'm here tonight. But I would prefer to speak to you directly if that's how you would prefer it. More than happy with that. I just didn't know who had to be involved because it is a tiered system. I figured you guys needed to approve of it. Any changes with that, which I did see, and I think you would all agree, this year it wasn't based on what we had been understanding in the first couple of years. So I feel like although you were referencing as like something that you guys are used to, it was a change this year, and we were shared with on a criteria of how everybody was placed. So I would love to have the chance to speak with you more about it and kind of understand why those choices were made and
We certainly can make those arrangements to have those conversations.
I'll tell you, I expected to get something in the mail that said, your kid's gonna be here, here's why,
I know.
before the first day of school.
Yeah, that was what was striking, I think, the most. If, growing up, you had mentioned, it's changed a lot. If I had a sibling that was held back, it was involved. So personally, I didn't have that happen this year, but from what I understand, the criteria, it could have happened sort of anywhere on the spectrum. And I'm almost wondering kind of why or how and that kind of stuff. So I just would have to talk to you more about that at a different time.
And we certainly own the communication, and that certainly is a piece that I have no doubt, efforts in the future will be, certainly, I think there's a standard practice that typically has happened here. The reality is we've had a number of new staff, and that's not an excuse by any means. I don't want to sound that I'm making an excuse, but for a school this size to have so many new staff at once is significant. And so it's certainly, with great regret that better communication didn't happen ahead of time. Our goal is, and certainly your experiences hopefully with it moving forward will help you feel reassured. My words aren't going to be enough. It's certainly our actions that are going to speak louder. And so I have, full confidence in the committed educators in this building that the communication, moving forward will include some of the bigger understandings of why, and also some of those more, individualized conversations, relative to your children. So, I regret that this has been your start to the year, but it is certainly one that I hope and know that we can move forward from.
I think in terms of moving forward, our hope is that in regards to placements, there can be a more standard criteria, and we know what that criteria is. If it's academic based, if it's just going into it, we know that there's a standard across the board, so we all have an idea of where our children will be placed and what we need to work with them on, prepare them best.
Yeah, because it felt like there was problems with staffing this year, which you just touched upon, that there was a lot of turnover, a lot of change. Now that can be from a number of things. I'm not saying that there was, significant one issue. But I'm wondering, I know that sometimes some years there's larger groups and it's hard to place everybody. You have staffing ratios that you need to meet. But with that, it wouldn't be acceptable. I don't know who has children on the board or who's a part of this, but I wouldn't accept just needing to kind of fit a ratio rather than meet a student's academic success or social success or wherever they need to be placed. That would be the job of the school to make sure that they're meeting that rather than just shifting. So I think that was a big concern as well.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Do you want to get the information? Or you already-
I think I'll connect with Shannon afterwards. We'll
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, since we're on that, is there anything else from the floor? Kelly?
Well, how long do you want to be here, Glenn?
As hot as it is, I want her to go home already. Okay, thank you. So we'll go back to policy. A, third and final reading. Motion to approve the third and final reading of the following policies, say as presented on the, this is the third and final reading for these policies. Take a motion to approve. Sandra? A second?
A second.
Renee? All in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Next one is policies for the second reading. I'll take a motion to approve the second reading of the following policies as presented and not amended, correct?
Correct.
So as presented.
Well, they're amended from their original.
Yeah, but we voted on that
Yeah.
last meeting. Take a motion to approve the policies for second reading. Sandra
A second.
and Renee. Second. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Policies, first reading. Policy CDA, student teaching and internships. Take a motion to approve the policy on its first reading. Sandra? Deb? Anybody see any corrections or typos or anything in that one? If not, all in favor? 5-0. Policy CF/CFA, function of the principal. Take a motion to approve this new policy. Deb?
A second.
Renee? Sandra?
I was reading over, maybe the last 10 policies today, but I had a chance at work. And I was looking at the function of the principal, the policy, and I jotted down, but it's handwritten, you know, what I thought should be changed or expanded on the function. But, you know, I haven't gotten a chance to, you know, go home or to type it up. It's just handwritten. Could we possibly postpone this one until the next?
We'll have the second and third reading too, and you can bring it up then as well.
Is it just going to be an amendment, changing of wording, or are you actually changing functions?
It's
Do you have it
changing.
with you and just read what you want?
I wrote it in a hurry.
It's your writing, if you can read it.
If I can find it. I didn't think you'd ask me, Glenn, to.
Well, you should have known better than that.
I should have known better. Well, yeah, I should have, you know, because I was writing something else today. I don't even know whether I
If
have.
it's just typos or
No,
changes of
it's
words.
not. Actually, it's not, Glenn.
I'll send it back to Paul.
Oh,
Right, why don't
I
we do
have it.
that?
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to read the whole thing?
Yeah.
The principal shall have the position of chief administrator and financial coordinator, and she will provide instructional leadership in an environment for the maximum educational nurture of all children in grades K through 8 and special education. The principal will be responsible to facilitate the school's interaction with parents and others in the school community. The principal shall keep the superintendent or her designee in her absence informed of activities in the school as the superintendent deems appropriate. That's what I did at work today.
Okay.
So it does change a little. I just thought that it should have been.
Would it be
We can send it back to
appropriate
you
to send it
guys.
back to committee?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we have a vote, so we're going to disapprove it, and then we'll send it back. Okay, so when I say yes, don't vote.
Thanks, Glenn.
Just vote no.
Yeah. So all in favor? All opposed? So we'll send that back to committee. Thank you, 05.
Can you email that to
I'll type it up in email.
Mary? Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome to just give it to me, and we can type that up for you.
You have lovely
We
handwriting.
can
I'm
make-
sure we can read that.
Remember, I did it at work.
That's okay.
Without a break, with, you know, in between patients, it was, all right, I can do
So if
that.
you want to just give it to Mary Tyler.
Sure. All right.
Awesome, thank you. I'll get it to Allison Sandra. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next one is policy EFAA, free and reduced price lunch policy. Take a motion to approve as presented. Sandra? Second? Deb? Anything on this one? Anybody see? No? If not, and all in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Policy GBI, staff engaging in political activities. Take a motion to approve this article, this policy. Sandra, and Deb, second. Anything on this one? If not, all in favor? 5-0, thank you. Policy GCA, job descriptions. Take a motion to approve this policy. Deb? Second? Renee? Anything on this one? If not, all in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Policy GCCBD, employee leaves of absence. This is one we went over.
Yes.
So this one we went over with the teachers, and they're happy with it, I believe.
Teresa Merrifield did connect with the teacher. She sent out by email because of, certainly difficult timing, but did have only favorable responses.
This policy had to do with policy 4146.
Yes.
Yep.
Which was family medical
Right,
leave act,
and,
which,
right, yes.
because of the size of Ashland Elementary, the district would not be required to follow.
The 50 employees, is that?
Yes.
Yes.
But this helps to ensure that at a minimum, that would be followed. And provides for the board to have an opportunity to make, decisions relative to individual needs.
Now, on the 4146, there's 180 days of school, and I believe, I'm out of order here now, but on the one that we're talking about, didn't that have to do with 1,250 hours?
So you have to have, in order to qualify for family medical leave, you
Mhm.
have had to work the previous year 1,250 hours.
Okay.
But it doesn't affect us because we're not affected by it either way, so our
Oh,
policy.
either way, we're not.
Either way, we're not,
All right.
because we don't have the 50.
All
So
right.
this policy is to get something in place for the teachers.
Okay.
Because by law, we don't have to, but, we think we should.
I was a little confused on that because I knew that half of that was 50 employees, but I didn't know whether the other half,
Yeah, once you don't hit the criteria of 50, then none of
It's
it
gone.
applies.
Okay.
All of it's gone.
All right.
So,
This really
That's a good question, Glenn.
codifies.
May I ask a question?
no, yes.
You love it when I ask the question. How does that affect support staff who are not part of the bargaining union? Do they receive the same
So this-
benefit, or are they eligible for the same kind of leaves?
This includes all employees.
All employees, okay. I just want to clarify that it wasn't just bargaining staff. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And even with all employees, we're still under the 50. So when we take the number, it's not just the number of teachers, it's the entire district employees.
But everybody's covered at the discretion for some kind of family medical leave.
Yes. Yep. Any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve. Steve? And a second? Sandra? All in favor? 5-0. Policy GCO, evaluation. Take a motion for first reading. Sandra?
A second.
Renee? Anything on this one? If not, all in favor? 5-0. And that's it for the first policies. And D is policies to be rescinded. And some of these policies were replaced by some of the third reading policies that we just approved tonight. And on it is what policy it's replacing. So I'll take a motion to approve rescinding the following policies, which is GCJ-1, pay scale policy, non-bargaining positions. GDJ, paraprofessionals, administrator assistants, and custodians. GDO, evaluation of non-professional personnel. GF, holidays. IHBH, extended learning opportunities. Take a motion to, Deb
A second.
and Renee. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Announcements, Tuesday, October 2nd will be the next school board meeting here in the library, in the media center. Policy Review Committee will be at 5:45, right?
Yes, thank you.
School board meeting will be at 6:30. Tuesday, November 6th, Ashland School Board, again, our regular scheduled meeting here in the media center. And then December 4th, again, here in the media center for our regular school board. I think, are we trying to get a SAU meeting in there?
We
somewhere?
are, and we had talked potentially about October. I'm going to probably see the superintendent for SAU 48 next Wednesday. I'll check in with where they're at. Yeah, you know, I know they, certainly
Yeah.
the building project has been, whether they would prefer to do that. You know, maybe we could find another date in October, or if we did the November, typically that's a budget process for us.
I'm thinking if we can't get it done in October, then we probably want to put it out till February or March.
Okay, so let me see where their comfort level
Because
is.
otherwise we'll be into policy and budget
Budget.
Right,
and all that other stuff.
amazing how
But they
quickly it
will be
goes.
too, so.
right.
you know.
So I will connect with him on Wednesday, the 12th, and find out where he's at, and then I will certainly connect with you relative to that.
Okay.
So is the plan to set up the budget schedule next month?
Yes.
Okay.
And how about SAU 2 meeting? I know we tried to get.
So we are trying to, I need to speak with the chair of SAU 2 to find out, I know he's doing some traveling this month as well.
Okay. So there may be somewhere in here, a couple other meetings that pop up depending on what the needs are. Anything else? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Yes? Second? Renee? All in favor? Thank you. We're adjourned.